Is there anything I can do for you, Mrs. Wainwright?
You can pour me 3 fingers of that horrible stuff and join me in a toast to your Madeline. We've just heard from her. She's alive and well.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Wainwright. Thank you.
You're ever so welcome, Mr. McCallion. Ever so.
Hey! What are you doing down there? There are no civilians allowed in the freight yards.
But the freight yard doesn't start until the other side of the tunnel.
Well, you still have no business around here anyway.
But I do. Sometimes the trains drop bits of coal. Without a fire in the morning, it gets too cold for my children.
Your husband ought to provide coal?
You're right, but he's working on a labor brigade in Normandy. Can't the Third Reich spare a few lumps of coal for my children?
I'll ask Field Marshal Goring the next time he calls me for advice. Stay on this side of the sign. All right?
Yes, I will. Thank you.
It must be lonely with your husband so far away.
The children keep me company.
Children can't fill all your time, can they?
So you're not a father.
Poor children will be very cold, won't they?
I know I promised you I wouldn't come in here.
I'm tired of hearing about your children, do you know that? I'm tired of being looked at as a monster. I'm tired of being called a killer of innocence. I'm tired. What's your name?
Marie.
My name is Ernst. No one has called me Ernst since I came here. Do you know that? I've just been called Müller, but never simply by my first name. You called me by my name, Marie. Do that for me.
Ernst.
I should report you for being in here. I'm required to report you, do you understand?
Yes.
But I do not want to do that. I do not want to hurt you. I'm not a monster. God, your hair smells so good. Let me touch you. That's all. Just let me touch you. What's this?
You say she had a notebook?
Yes, sir.
Do you ever recall having seen her before? Town, marketplace?
No, sir.
The railway tunnel leading to the switching yards.
Yes, sir.
Write down everything you can remember about her. What she wore, what she said, what she looked like, everything. Gestapo.
And it writes?
Not endlessly, but 75 to 100 words. Enough to pass any guard spot check.
How many rounds do you carry?
Just one.
Range?
15 or 20 yards with any effectiveness. But beyond that, not very accurate.
Is it loaded?
No.
All right, put it in work. It has merit.
Mr. Stevenson, Mr. McCallion. Another fine day, Mr. McCallion.
Ah, thank you very much, Mrs. Wainwright.
Evan, you're an ass.
And, a Merry Christmas to you, too, sir.
Mrs. Wainwright says it's a fine day, and you thank her for that. Now, that leaves me with two possibilities. Either Mrs. Wainwright has suddenly become the goddess incarnate and therefore entirely responsible for the weather, which I doubt, or the phrase, "It's another fine day," was a message for you, for which you, being a polite gentleman, although a bit of an ass, thank her. Evan, for 30 years I've worked on codes and cryptology, and you try to rush a schoolboy stunt like that past me, you ought to be ashamed of yourself.
I haven't the slightest idea what you're talking about.
I'm talking about the method whereby Mrs. Wainwright tells you that Madeline is alive and that her transmissions are coming in on schedule.
I'd be a fool to confirm or deny that, and I'm no fool.
You'd also be a bit foolish to rely too heavily on Mrs. Wainwright. After all, she's not responsible for every message that comes in here to Bletchley.
If you're trying to tell me something, I'd be grateful if you tell me and have done with it.
All right. The Germans are transferring radio directional homing units into the area where Madeline is operating.
Which means?
Which means they've started to look for her.
Stevenson. Sorry to bother you, but I knew you'd want to be bothered.
There's no mistake?
None.
Has Churchill been notified?
Not by me. It's not my job.
No, damn it, it's mine. I'm sorry to disturb you, Prime Minister.
Well, think of it as a long, wide, soft desk. If it's brought you from Bletchley Park, it must be important. Please, don't let it wait.
We've just received word, sir, that Hitler has given orders to the Luftwaffe to bomb Coventry. We've cross-checked it and verified it a dozen times. Consensus is the raid will take place at the end of this week.
A large raid? Not just a symbolic gesture?
From the number of squadrons involved, it will be an all-out effort.
But there's no possible strategic advantage in bombing Coventry. There's no possible value in it.
The value, Prime Minister, is that Coventry is not a military target. The city is undefended. But Hitler wants to demonstrate to the world that any time he feels like it, he can flatten a target in the middle of Britain.
Could we stop an all-out effort, do you think?
Possibly.
And if we did so, wouldn't that tell the Germans we had prior knowledge of the raid?
Yes, it would.
But the children, at least.
Evacuate them?
Yes.
It's too big an operation, Prime Minister. We could never keep it secret. They'd find out as soon as we started.
You'll discuss this with your department.
Yes, sir.
They are in agreement?
Unanimous.
You understand what we're talking about, don't you? We are talking about letting innocent civilians die without making the slightest effort to warn them, to save them. We're talking about letting that mad Nazi obliterate the most cherished, the most beautiful town in our land.
I understand, sir, what we're talking about. Coventry is only a few miles north of Bletchley, and many people working at Bletchley have their families living in Coventry, including, incidentally, Colonel Gubbins.
Oh, Lord. So, either we defend Coventry to the hilt and give up our only intelligence advantage, or we sacrifice Coventry to save our country. Is that it?
Yes, sir.
Care to give me your recommendation?
No.
I don't have to tell you how much I was hoping that you would have a plan that could persuade me there was something we could do.
Then they would give up their Enigma machine, and we'd be right back where we were 1 year ago, unable to anticipate a single move. But it's your decision, sir.
I am Prime Minister. Don't forget, I am not Chief of the Imperial General Staff.
Will that be all, sir?
Yes, that's all. Medical units.
Sir?
Is there some way we could find to alert some additional medical units? Could we do that much?
I suppose we could arrange some kind of first aid exercise that would bring additional units into the city, yes, sir.
Then do so.
Any further orders?
No. No further orders. Just leave me, Bill. Just leave me alone.
We are doing the right thing, sir.
There are people living tonight in Coventry who will not be living in 3 or 4 days. And their deaths will be directly attributable to our discussions here tonight. They will be dead. And we will be right.
Van.
It's Michaelian, sir. Are you still out?
Yes.
Oh.
What's on your mind?
Well, I just thought you'd like to know. I got moving on the duplication of that phony pen I showed you this morning.
Did you seriously come over here at this time of night just to tell me that?
Oh, yes. Well, actually, there is one other thing.
Look, I'll discuss anything with you except some harebrained scheme to rescue Madeline.
Well, sir, I'm not sure how harebrained this is, but...
I'm very busy. The door's open. Good night.
Sir,
If they are looking for her, I sincerely hope they don't find her. If they do find her, I sincerely hope she has time to swallow her L pill before they take her to Gestapo headquarters. In any event, there's nothing we can do about it. There's nothing we will do about it.
You're a bastard. A cold, ruthless bastard.
That is correct. Good night.
Morning, Mrs. Wainwright. Morning, Mr. Poindexter.
Morning, Mr. McCallion. You're early.
Oh, well, I'll wait.
Here we are now.
Ask her if her position is secure.
Not authorized, Mr. McCallion. I'll ask her no such thing.
Well, how much longer could it take? Another 20 seconds. Please, Mrs. Wainwright.
Good. Next location.
She didn't hear all the transmission. She's asking me to repeat. Position secure. Certain of it.
Colonel Jürgen?
Come. What is it?
The radio units just signaled, sir. They've narrowed down the search area. They believe they're very close.
Close? Close is only good when you're throwing hand grenades. Not good enough for our purpose. Put more people onto it. Man the frequency 24 hours a day. Keep talking, whoever you are. We'll keep listening.
This gentleman is the target.
Can you decode this for me, please?
Yes, of course.
Get me Mr. Stevenson, please. Urgent.
I see. Get 10 Downing Street on the Scrambler and tell them exactly what you told me. Thank you. It's tonight.
God help them.
soon as these girls reach about 10 words a minute, they think that's quite sufficient.
Well, they're the best we've got at the moment.
The agent, Madeline. She has an assigned transmission time, hasn't she?
Yes, why?
There's a call coming in at the moment with her identity code. But it's nearly 12 hours too early.
Strange.
Yes. It's still coming in.
Mrs. Wainwright told Madeleine. I'll get her. She'll recognize that touch on the key if it's her. Mrs. Wainwright, please.
Two or 3 kilometers north of here. The second unit's coming in from the other side.
Will it be out in the open?
There'll be a structure of some sort. Farm, barn, house, something like that.
2 or 3 kilometers north.
Yes, I think it's a touch.
Why is she transmitting now?
I don't know. Let's find out what it is she wants to transmit. Planes. Large number. Passing over location. 15 minutes ago. Madeline.
Can she identify them?
She can't be sure. She believes they're all multi-engine aircraft.
Can she be more specific about the number? I said, can she be more specific about the number?
I bloody well heard what you said.
Quietly.
around the building. Take her alive! Quickly now, let's move.
I'll take this to Stevenson.
Should make a copy for files.
No, we mustn't waste the time. No, she saw a large number of aircraft coming over an area that doesn't normally see this kind of traffic. Let's get this to Stevenson as soon as possible. I want to make sure that this, at least, doesn't go to waste.
Let him go.
Over here! This way! Let it out! Let it out!
Is she dead? No, she wasn't that lucky.
This just came in from Madeline, sir. I thought you ought to see it.
Couldn't it wait till the morning?
No, sir, I don't think it can. I'm sorry, I didn't realize you were so busy.
Read it to me.
She reports a large number of enemy bombers flying this evening over an area that normally doesn't see that kind of activity.
What do you think? Did it change anything?
Nothing at all. Just pass the message on through the usual channels.
Yes, of course.
Well, thank you, Evan. Oh, make sure air defense is notified. And keep us informed of any development, eh?
She didn't sign off. Well, she broke off in the middle of transmission.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Maybe mechanical failure. We'll keep our fingers crossed, hmm?
Yes, well, I'm glad at least you can show that much concern.
Evan, a child knows the world purely from the standpoint of his comfort. His warmth, his hunger, and so forth. But a man knows that there can be other factors way beyond his control. So please try to judge Gubbins and myself, not the way a child does. We can't ask you to share our pain, just know that it does exist.
I see. Well, good night.
I'll be over Coventry in an hour.
It's her. Inside.
You heard the Colonel. Get her inside.
One prisoner, female.
Prisoner received. Heil Hitler.
My name is Colonel Jürgen. I will be in charge of your interrogation. Now, there are a number of schools of thought regarding interrogation, and I think it might be beneficial, educational even, if I tell you where I stand in this matter. I do not enjoy pain. I do not enjoy experiencing it, and I do not enjoy inflicting it. But I've seen enough pain in my present post to know that there's one thing to be said for it. It is efficient. It does work. It does achieve results. Sometimes quickly, sometimes not so quickly, but the results are achieved nevertheless. Now, I would urge you most sincerely to consider the logic and the reality of that fact, and save us both from the most unpleasant procedure that I might be forced to put you through if you choose not to cooperate. Know that you will break eventually. Know that some discomfort will be inflicted upon you to make it impossible for you to continue being stubborn. Know that bravery and courage are your worst enemy from this day forward. Your courage will take place in the utmost darkness where no one will ever know of it. The same holds true if you should decide to cooperate with us. No one on the other side will ever know. No one. mind. Consider what I've just said very, very carefully. Good night. Sleep well.
I will not cooperate, Colonel.
I'm extremely sorry to hear that you should choose to put us both through this.
The Image, Rod Stewart. Tomorrow on Today on NBC.
How many were killed, did they say?
Just under 1,000 dead and many, many times that wounded.
My heartless, Bill. Mere numbers always seem so unreal to me. At the sight of that cathedral, that very nearly drove me to my knees.
Oh, you're not heartless, son. I think you'll find when you visit the first hospital that you're anything but heartless.
Well, when are we due at the hospital?
As soon as you've seen enough here.
No, let's keep walking. Because I haven't seen enough. And I won't have seen enough until I've seen it all. Every cottage and coal scuttle that's been destroyed here. Until I've seen so much that it will remain with me for all eternity. What has happened here will not be permitted to be forgotten.
This is Charles Carter of the BBC Home Service. In swift retaliation, Britain today bombed the German city of Cologne.
I've just seen the communique from the French underground about Madeleine being taken to Gestapo headquarters. I want you to know I am sorry.
Yes, I know. You said that last night.
What are you working on over here?
Some phony marine mines. Trying to get them to behave like the real thing.
Why don't you just use the real thing?
Well, it costs 100 times as much. Besides, a phony mine can cause a ship to divert just as quickly as a real one can. Just can't sink the damn thing, that's all.
Sounds frivolous to me. Assign it to somebody else.
Why?
Because I'm sending you to Canada. Back to Camp X.
Then why?
Look, I don't have to justify my decision to you or to anybody else. You helped to set up Camp X. I want you to make sure it's still an effective facility.
And when I've made sure that it's still an effective facility, when can I expect to return here?
When I decide you'll be more useful here than there, and not before. And when I'm convinced you're working, and not just mooning over...
Yes? Go on, please.
Evan, she's gone. She's finished. Try to accept it.
Granted. She's in their custody.
She'll never be out of their custody.
There have been escapes. She's not dead. And what have you talking about as if she is?
Well, try to think of her as being in a coma, and there's nothing that you or I or anybody else can do to bring her out of it. What happens to Madeleine now is out of our hands.
Now? These two gentlemen and I are very adept at this game. We shan't let you drown, although you think you may be drowning. And we shall repeat the process over and over again for as long as we have to. Are you going to force us to do that to you? Let me explain something to you. A human being is only a human being as long as he or she has free will. Some control over his or her destiny. You no longer have that control. Anything I tell these men to do to you, they will do, and you don't have the power to resist them. You no longer have any control over what is done to you. Ergo, you are no longer a human being. You are an object that I can act upon as I see fit to act upon it. It.
No one expects courage from a thing. No one expects an it to display loyalty.
Be reasonable for all our sakes. Let us help you. Put it back where you found it. Are you awake? Can you hear me? I didn't want you to fall asleep until I reminded you of what it is we want. All we want from you is to go back on the air, broadcasting to your friends just as before, though the information you will send them will be information we provide. Did you understand what I just said? Very well. Give it all some thought and see if our request doesn't... Disquieting sound, isn't it?
What are they doing to her?
I have no idea. But I probably ought to tell you that you could stop whatever it is they are doing to her any time you decide.
I don't understand.
The girl is 15. We suspect that the underground are using her as a courier. But that is essentially a very small matter in our scheme of things. If you would like that business stopped, All you have to do is say that you will cooperate. If you decide not to cooperate with us, then you decide for her, too.
I don't believe you. You're lying. I don't believe you.
You don't have to believe me. But it would be a shame if you didn't believe her.
President now addresses the nation in the face of great perils never before encountered. Our strong purpose is to protect and to perpetuate the integrity of democracy. That is our purpose and our pledge.
To the President's speech, he watched some of America's newest planes in maneuver in a demonstration given for him by the United States Air Force.
Okay. What happened to the planes?
I don't know what you're talking about.
3 United States Army Air Force transports, C-47s, left at an empty field near the Canadian border. Left for paint curability tests. Where are they now?
I thought they were supposed to stay there a whole year.
They were?
Well, it's only been 10 months, Mr. Donald. You should tell your people not to be over anxious.
My people don't include the FBI and Army intelligence. We haven't got them on a leash. Shh. Come on, honey. We want to help, but our powers are not unlimited. Try to remember that.
I'll tell Mr. Stevenson. Is President Roosevelt under a lot of pressure?
He is, but he's no stranger to that. No. What is it this time?
Amphibians.
Amphibians?
Yes.
Why amphibians?
We need them for our people to disembark from submarines.
To disembark from subs?
Yes.
You mean to tell me there's a sub in Lake Ontario?
I didn't say that.
No, thank God you didn't say that. But if there's no subs, why do you need the amphibians? Second thought, don't answer that. hate to ask a man to lie, and I sure in hell don't want you to tell me the truth. I don't think I could handle it.
Here. Popcorn?
No, thanks.
Amphibians?
Of the British Isles.
We'll see.
Für eure Schule wird die ganze Nation gehen.
Look at him. It's hard to believe he's real.
Nicht Deutschland! In uns marschiert Deutschland und hinter uns kommt Deutschland!
Oh, no, it's not.
Diesem Deutschland sind gut! Wird heute Deutschland in stolzer Freude seines Söhnes in euch!
Enough. Take her back.
Stand up! Look up! Check equipment! Mr. McCallion, what are you doing here, sir?
Checking the equipment, sir, as you said.
All right, don't crowd, huh? Up, count, and go. You haven't had any jump training.
Well, of course I have. Back in England.
You sure?
It's not the sort of thing one's liable to forget, Sergeant.
Might be the sort of thing one might lie about, though, sir.
Why in heaven's name would one do that?
Sure, I don't know, but I can't allow you to leave this aircraft until I know for certain you've had sufficient jump training.
You mean you didn't get the memo from Stevenson?
No, sir.
Oh, not to worry. I'll get you a copy.
Thanks. Track equipment! Red light on! Come to the door! Green light on! Go! 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 Keep your knees bent when you land.
Thanks. But I knew that. Everyone knows that.
And things appear to be going from bad to worse.
As bad as all that.
Bad enough.
Transfer refused again?
Yes, but I'm beginning to anticipate that. I shall be stuck in this dreary little backwater until after we occupy England. And maybe even beyond that, for all I know.
If that's not the problem, what is it?
The woman. She's winning.
I don't believe it. How can she be winning?
She has said nothing.
Thank you. Thank you.
I believe that she's trying to dive. I mean, literally trying to dive. And I believe that she's strong enough to do it, too.
I don't see where dying has anything to do with strength. Just sounds as if she's gone mad.
No, not mad. Not her. Not so far. We put together one of the cipher books we found in the farmhouse after the explosion. I think that perhaps that might give me a certain leeway.
To do what?
To allow her to win.
I know you don't remember me. Most of the times I've seen you, you've been unconscious or almost so. I generally bring you back here after they're done with you. And once, I was the one using the whip. I didn't enjoy that. You're really good. You know that? You're quite easily the best I've ever dealt with. I really don't like to hurt you, you know. Not at all. There ought to be some way we could work out, some way where I wouldn't have to hurt you so much. Some exchange. Don't you think we could come up with something like that?
Your new clothes are in the bag. Change when you reach cover. Then go down the road till you see a church. Go through the graveyard to the village. You know the convent, huh? In the rear, you'll find a low building with a glass roof.
What about you?
Now go.
You can put that out. When I was a boy, I used to work in a stable, cleaning it out for the man who employed my father. One day while I was working, I found a spider web. So I took my broom and I brushed it away. Next morning, when I came back, the spider had put a new one up. So I brushed that away, too. This went on for a long, long time. I brushed away the web. The spider built a new one. In a little while, I noticed that the web had begun to change shape. It was no longer regular and precise and mathematical. It had become unbalanced and twisted. After that, every time that I swept the web away, the new one built was more twisted, strange, and unnatural. Eventually, the web was nothing more than one or two strands going off in various directions. And the rest of the web was simply one huge lump. I had taken away hope, you see, from that base, useless creature. Without hope, we become warped and crippled creatures. I've no wish to do that to you. But it is well within my capability to do so. Besides, you have less reason now than ever to keep fighting. Obviously, the underground heard the sirens and all the rushing about and the commotion. By now, they will have told England that you have escaped. And England will expect you to start transmitting again. We will not disappoint England in that respect.
They'll know it's not me transmitting.
But suppose it is you transmitting.
It won't be me. It'll never be me.
Eventually, after a long, long time, I killed that spider.
Now, tell me about Camp X.
Well, it's all better than ever.
In Washington and New York? Is Hoover giving us a little more elbow room?
Oh, yes, sir. Donovan doesn't know how you accomplished that, but he's very grateful. Said to tell you.
I don't know how the president managed it either. I'm very grateful to him. Just hope it goes on that way.
Do you think America's any closer to coming in?
Oh, they'll be in, all right. Not quite as soon as we might hope, but a great deal sooner than they expect.
I'd be good in the field. You know that.
Yes, I know.
Then if you know that, why?
Don't you understand? I go to great lengths not to get to know most of the agents we send over. The average life expectancy of an agent behind enemy lines is 6 months. Now, making the decisions involved with total strangers is hard enough. But making those decisions when you're close to people and you're risking their lives, those decisions are almost impossible to make and quite impossible to live with. Did I tell you why I knew Madeline before she was recruited?
Well, no, you didn't.
Well, she wouldn't remember. She was much too young. And I wouldn't have remembered, except I was going through her file in detail. About 20 years ago in India, I went to the house of a French diplomat. He introduced his daughter. And I remember thinking she was the most beautiful, the most serene child I'd ever seen. She wrote children's stories.
Did she? Oh, she'd be good at that. She'd be very good at that.
Yes? Is it important?
Yes, sir, I believe it is.
Go ahead.
We've received word from the French underground that the agent, codenamed Madeline, seems to have managed to escape from Gestapo custody.
I'm really not sure all this is necessary, Mrs. Wainwright.
Probably not. But I'd rather be here if and when Madeline starts sending.
If indeed it is Madeline. It could be a trick on their part. Mr. Stevenson cautioned us about that.
I told her how to send. I believe I'll be able to recognize a hand on the key.
Believing you can do something is not precisely a guarantee.
Mr. Poindexter, I believe in the King, the Church of England, and Lydia Pinkham's. Not one of them comes with a guarantee. They all work.
Here it is. Are you impressed?
I've seen rooms with radios before.
This is where you will be broadcasting from.
You know, I will not.
Whether it is you or that man over there masquerading for you, the point is the English will think that you are free once again.
You'll not be able to deceive them.
Normally, no, I would not be able to. But we managed to recover your cipher book from the farm. Gives us a certain advantage. Leave her. Without you on the key, I think we can deceive them. With you on the key, I know we can. I prefer knowing. We've had our battles, you and I. It's usually been a draw. But I'm going to win this one. We both know that, don't we?
That's it, down the rope, that's it, there, nothing to speed up, up, let's go, come on.
Leave the helmet, sir, leave the helmet.
Quite determined, isn't he?
When wasn't he about everything?
Move it. You know, there's something going on in Stockholm that he might be considered for.
What are you talking about?
Come on, up on your feet.
You remember that Niels chap you were so concerned about, Niels Bohr?
Niels Bohr? Yes, what about him?
Well, to all intents and purposes, he's disappeared. Now then, in several communiques, we've heard that they're shifting heavy machinery from France to Scandinavia. Now, it's just the sort of machinery he'd need for his nuclear research business.
That doesn't make any sense. If he's doing research for the Germans, they keep him working in Germany.
Well, according to our scientists, they can't.
Why not?
Well, they say he can't work in Germany because the Germans can't generate enough electricity for his needs.
The Ruhr Valley can't?
Correct. So they're building him a new plant in Norway.
Are you telling me the whole Ruhr Valley can't generate enough electricity for these experiments?
Not that, and continue the war effort.
Can we bomb this plant?
No. No, it's at the base of a mountain. No way to get at it.
Where does Bacanian come into all this?
Well, he's still on the payroll of the studios. Sweden is neutral. No great trick to send him over there as a set designer to research for a forthcoming film. It's the perfect cover.
Cover for what?
Keep an eye on Niels Bohr.
Ah. I don't think you take the job.
Why not?
You got some idea about helping Madeline?
Well, then I think he will do it.
Why?
Because most of the information about this machinery came from Madeline before she was captured.
I see. So he'd be finishing off what Madeline started.
Exactly.
Again.
Mrs. Wainwright, you better listen to this.
Madeline's identification?
Yes, ma'am.
Call Stevenson.
Is it her?
Can't tell on the basis of the identification. I'll have to acknowledge and listen then.
Shouldn't we wait for Stevenson?
If he wants to know she's alive, you'll want me to acknowledge. No, it's doubtful anyway.
Wait a second. We don't want to seem too anxious. And when you do start again, remember she's been in custody. Her hand will be rusty. Her pace will not be too fast. She may make an occasional mistake.
Yes, sir.
Begin.
Tell her to stand by.
Sir, they want us to stand by.
We wait.
Was it her?
Don't believe so. Can't say for certain. She's been through so much, it's possible her method, her meter might have changed.
Mrs. Wainwright, I know you can only give us an estimation, but what do you think the chances are that it was Madeline? 10 to 1, 5 to 1, what?
50-50.
What's she sending? What kind of information?
At a large truck convoy.
Why, they'd give out that kind of information in a second.
Well, is that the sort of thing she'd normally send?
Yes, not her job to evaluate information, just send it. We're the ones to say how valuable it's supposed to be.
True.
How good was her identification code?
Perfect.
Oh, so it would be if they had access to her cipher book.
End transmission.
Sir?
Tell them you are under surveillance and must stop transmitting at once. Tell them you will contact them tomorrow, standard schedule.
Perhaps if we were to ask...
Wait. Surveillance. Transmission ends. Resume tomorrow. Standard schedule. Sounds as if she's in trouble.
Shall we?
Maybe not.
Open. They are not convinced. But they are not unconvinced either.
We have to assume that they've managed to break Madeline, if indeed she's still alive.
Neither of you seem willing to consider the possibility that she's free, that she did manage to escape.
I'll consider anything if I can prove it. That's why we're speaking to you.
Well, I'm sorry, I don't follow.
We have to ask Madeline a really personal question. You see, if indeed they have broken her, whether she's there or not, they'll be able to answer any question we ask about her background, about her family, her friends, her school days, her job, and so on. But there's no way they can know anything about you, too. So the question we must ask Madeline Has to be something really intimate.
And, let's not have any schoolboy notions about protecting the lady's reputation. The discretion is not the better part of valor in this case.
Suppose now I remember something and she doesn't. Or suppose she's simply forgotten. I mean, we could assume the Germans are running the radio when in fact something I happen to recall she happens not to.
It's not a foolproof plan. It's just the only plan we have.
Tell me something that's a part of you that I can keep to myself, very selfishly.
When I was a little girl, I used to dream of growing up to be a gypsy princess. So I could dance about a campfire with ever so many gold bracelets up and down my arms, with my feet wet with the dew and my face red.
All right, I've got your question.
You're quite sure it's not something she might have told them?
Quite sure.
Or something she might have forgotten.
She won't have forgotten.
We go.
Tell them to stand by for a question.
They want to ask us a question.
You can live to be 90. Or your present age plus 30 seconds. It's your choice.
Who dances about the fire? Is that it?
Yes.
We must have an answer within 15 seconds.
They want to know who dances about the fire.
An Arabian princess dances about the fire.
Transmission reads, an Arabian princess dances about the fire.
That's not right. You said gypsy princess.
One word difference. You're certain the word was gypsy?
Absolutely certain. Well, we have an answer, which means she's alive. But our answer was partially incorrect, which is her way of informing us that she's under their control.
Send, welcome home, Madeline.
They say, welcome home, Madeline.
Devon? Devon, I have news.
About Madeline?
No, about all of us. The Japanese have bombed the American naval base at Pearl Harbor, and the Germans have declared war on the United States.
Which means?
Which means we're no longer in this war all alone. Now the Americans are in it with us.